What's going on, everybody? It's Antonio from Ikari Press. We're on the Indiegogo, $64,777. Santana, baby. Triple cover pack is, of course, still ongoing. If you want it, head on over to Indiegogo or just type in IkariPress.com. It'll take you right there. The link, of course, is in the description. All right. So I'm on, was this Kotaku? And I saw this article. I love watching video game videos, so a lot of the bigger channels like IGN and stuff, I stay on those channels. I like watching the video game movies. I like watching the playthroughs and all that, so I just get into it. I've loved games for, man, since I was like 6 or 7 years old, so like 35 years. But here it is. People are upset about things that don't actually happen in Jax's MK11 ending. Now, this title's a little misleading, and I'm finna break it down. Basically, as you can see here, this is Jax's ending, and there's a couple of YouTubers that have this and all the other MK11 endings loaded up. You know, they played through and they just screen captured and load that bad boy up. And I watched some of those. So the reason I'm doing this video is I actually watched the ending that they did for Jax. And it was very cringeworthy. If you're familiar with Mortal Kombat 11, the villain, Kronika, is trying to like rewrite the timeline and stuff. And apparently, if you actually watch the playthrough movie, she basically at the end, she tells Raiden that she has been trying to correct this timeline for a few times. It's happened like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and something always keeps going wrong. And then she learned it's Thanos. I mean, it pretty much sounds like Thanos Infinity War type thing, where it's like a multiverse, which is where the main story of Mortal Kombat 11 comes from. You know, that's why they have your past or future version fighting yourself or whatever, and they have the evil remnants and all that kind of thing. I thought the game looked okay. They did some cringe stuff, but this with the Jax storyline, that they have the individual storylines and then they have the main movie storyline, which is all the characters. But the Jax individual storyline, when he wins the game against Kronika and gets the Sands of Time, he decides to go back in time and fix slavery. And I was like, when I saw that, it really made, I was like, where did that come from? It was, I thought that was really strange. Not only, as someone who actually is a descendant of slaves, and that's not hyperbole, that's an actual fact. My grandfather's father was a slave, so I know this for a fact. This is something that I spoke to my grandfather about. My grandfather was like, I think he had just turned 100 when he passed, but that was so long ago. I was 14 years old when my grandfather passed, and 44 now. So there you go. But yeah, my grandfather's father was a slave, and I thought this was so cringeworthy. I was like, okay, you get the Sands of Time. I'm going back and I'm gonna freeze. And I was like, it really made me think of something. I had the very high honor and privilege to speak with Steve Englehart a few months ago on this channel. I'm actually in the process of trying to restore that interview so I can get it back uploaded. Because so many people are like, man, we need that Steve Englehart interview back up. I'm trying to get the whole thing. It's an hour and 50 minutes. I've got about an hour of it already on audio. I'm trying to get the full thing and get it re-uploaded. But one of the things that I talked to Steve Englehart about, his comics career, and he worked in Hollywood, and and that was one of we talked about the lack of diversity in the industry. We talked about some of the cringe storylines that they've had with minority characters in film, television, particularly in the comic book industry. We talked about a couple of storylines that happened over at DC. There was the Denny O'Neil storyline that happened in Green Lantern and Green Arrow, where the black man gets on to Green Lantern for helping all the other colors. He helps the Green Man and the Yellow Man and the Red Man, but he don't help the Brown Man. It was real cringeworthy. And then, which Steve, and rightfully so, he defended Denny on that because he was like, it came from a good place. They're trying to help. And then there was another storyline where I talked about Lois Lane. I guess she went to the Fortress of Solitude, and she managed to get this magic Negro pill or whatever. She turned herself into a black woman and went to Harlem. And it was extremely cringe and very pandering. And he was like, well, I ain't going to defend that one, because he knew that was very cringeworthy. But he said something that was very profound. And he said that it came from a place of trying to help. They realized that they weren't very diverse, but they wanted to touch those issues and they wanted to try to help. But there was just a lack. There just weren't any black people in the room. And so I said, okay, that's fair. Let's talk about that. But I want to see how diverse NetherRealm is, so I went on the NetherRealm IMDb for Mortal Kombat 11, and I started checking to see how diverse the actual production team was for the game, not the voice cast, because they had a lot of minorities and women on the voice acting cast. I'm talking about the people that directed the game, who, as you can see, are listed as Ed Boon and Martin Stoltz. And I'm going to be real, I don't know how hands-on Ed Boon actually is now. He seems like he's kind of in that Stan Lee role where he's going to do all the press and, the cons. And, I've seen them where they go to cons and they do like little contests and stuff. And they'll be like, if you win this game, you get to play Mortal Kombat against Ed Boon. It's that kind of thing, and he goes to like those big video game tournaments and stuff. Hey, you want to play Mortal Kombat with the guy that created Mortal Kombat? He seems to do a lot of that stuff. I don't know how much actual programming he does now. Back in the day, he was very, very hands-on. There's videos. I saw one the other day while I was watching some old motion capture footage of Mortal Kombat 3. And you see Ed Boon behind the scenes sitting back while the actors are doing their thing, giving direction, different things he wanted to do. But I've been, you heard of the movie Finding Nemo? I call this Finding Negroes, because I was trying to go through the NetherRealm production staff, and it wasn't a lot of black people there. They have some black people, but it's not very. You see a lot of Asians. I saw looked like a gentleman was an Arab gentleman. They obviously have women, but there wasn't a lot, which that doesn't shock me. There's not a lot of black people working in tech, at least not in high numbers. In fact, I have a brother that is a dear friend of mine that has had a couple of these high profile tech jobs, and I asked him, and that was one of the things he was telling me. He left, he makes over $100,000 a year, but he left a job making over $100,000 a year, and then he hopped into another job making $100,000 a year. And he says whenever he gets bored and he wants to move on again, he knows he's gonna get, because when he submits his resume to these sites, these job finder sites, he gets all kind of calls, because he told me it's like finding a leprechaun or a unicorn and stuff. I think he's got a bachelor's in business and he's got like 2 major degrees, 20-year, he's 20-year Army vet. He retired from the Army as a major. So he's got the military background, retired as an officer. He's got 2 business degrees where he can do tech and all that kind of stuff. So that's why he won't even sit down if the job is less than $100,000 a year. If you're calling him for an interview, he won't even take it, because he was like, if I was a woman, He said, I'm already black. If I was a woman, I could get even more than I'm getting now. That's one of the things he was telling. But as I was going through, like I said, I'm doing Finding Negroes, and I was trying to find them. Now, all these people you're seeing here, these are the voice actors. But obviously, Ed Boon's not a black man. I checked out these three, the writers, the main writers here. That's Dominique Colio or whatever. I know I'm butchering that. Sean Kittleson, I checked both of them out. They're not black. Ali Deal. Now, I checked she doesn't have her profile picture up. But all the Ali and Allison Deals that I came across as I was checking online, they're not black. If the Ali Deal that works for NetherRealm is black, please let me know in the comments. My point is going back to the thing with Steve Englehart that he said is that there weren't black voices in those rooms when they do these storylines and stuff. And I would like to think if there had been a black person in there, not the voice actor, I'm talking about the actual people that cut the checks, that make the story decisions and stuff like that, that stuff like this that is clearly pandering would not happen. Because that's why I was sitting there going, wow, okay. Jax was never a slave. So the fact he was like, let me go back 100-some years and let me correct all this. Let me go back. It's so, stuff like that is so complicated. Not to mention, you're just talking about African slavery. There was slavery in Greece and Rome, and there's slavery all over the world. Matter of fact, there's still slavery now. but as I was going through this, it's not a lot of black people. Look here, the art department, all this. I was clicking through all these photos trying to find, I'm Google searching. It took me a while to do some research. It's not like this person here appears to be an Arab person, Mo Davardidia. Man, don't get me pronounce these people's names. But I'm just saying, and I was looking for Negroes. I was trying to find, I was like, are there black people? There's a lot of Asian names in here, which again, there's a lot of Asian people working in tech, so that doesn't shock me. You see women's names and stuff like that, so yeah, they're diverse. I see a lot of Hispanic names. It's just, man, I was going through just trying to find, I was like, I want to see something, and I don't want just a worker bee. I want someone who can actually make creative decisions on these projects that is a black person. You know what I'm saying? And as I was going through this list of names here at NetherRealm, it doesn't look like they have those people in place. Yeah, they have a few minority people, but it's not as diverse as it quote unquote could be. And that's my issue with stuff like this. I wish there was a black person, more than one, in these rooms when they're having these meetings. You hear about that in film and television as well, where you got a couple of black people on the cast. You've hired black actors. You might have a couple of set dressers or whatever, costume people that are black. But a lot of those people that actually have the power that can make the decisions, they're not black. So then you get moments like Jax deciding to free the slaves in Mortal Kombat. They also, NetherRealm did this last year as well, where they added Black Lightning in as a character. It was a DLC skin for Raiden. So you unlock Raiden, and then you buy the Black Lightning skin, which I actually did. And then he had like a couple of little Trump jokes in there or whatever. When he comes, I was just like, okay, I thought that was a little cringe. And so I would be very curious. I would love to actually be able to talk to people like Ed Boon, because number one, I've been a Mortal Kombat fan for 30 years. So I would very much love to talk to someone like Ed Boon, but I'd like to see what again, I want to know how hands-on he is now, because again, I kind of think he's more of like a Stan Lee type guy, where I don't know how involved in the day-to-day he is now. I think he just does the press, but maybe he's coding and making those decisions. You know, he might say, yeah, I'm cool with that, and then leave that to other people. I mean, hell, as I was going down the list, Ed even gave his brother, which I don't have a problem with. His brother Mike Boone is listed as a producer on this game. I mean, but that's what you're supposed to do. If I'm in position, I'm gonna hire people that's on my team that I'm cool with. So I'm not knocking Ed for putting people that are family members or whatever, giving them job. That's what you're supposed to do. You know, that's why I'm building a company. So I can put people that's in my family down, and I can put them in position. That's what you're supposed to do. So I'm not hating on him for that. I just, like I said, doesn't seem like there were any black people in the room when they made this decision, because I noticed some of the other endings, they didn't really do that. And they also had the make Outworld great again line in the game. It was like, yeah, they kind of did some cringe stuff. Obviously not, there must not be very many fans of our president in the NetherRealm studio, house or whatever. They're not big fans of our president, but I don't know. I am very curious what you guys think about stuff like this. Because again, it really made me uncomfortable. I was like, where did that come from? It was just really cringy. But let me know what you guys think. Get in the comments. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. And if you guys want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and right here on this YouTube channel. Everywhere is at Ikari Press. And if you type in IkariPress.com, it will take you directly to my Indiegogo campaign for my comic book series brand with the phenomenal Kanan White. We're on Teespring. We're on Amazon.com. The links to those are in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. I'm out.